we speak of any health camp, one thing that is always calculated is the BMI.
It is one metric which I hate the most.
Why so?
If I was to go by only the BMI metric, then I'm going to classify someone who actually is very healthy and strong and has loads of muscle mass also as overweight,
Right.
which is stupid.
Yeah. So if BMI is not telling us the entire picture, why is it so popular in today's time?
BMI's origin story is very interesting. The female body is different than the male body, but BMI is not telling you that there's like a big difference between, say, BMI for men versus BMI for women. I always tell people that stop checking your BMI. You don't need to be checking your body mass index.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Ask Amita Podcast. So, whenever we speak of any health camp, one thing that is always calculated is the BMI. So, through this podcast today, we are going to dive into what is BMI, is it a good health measure to have, why is it so popular, and do we really need to stress about the number it has? So, hi ma'am.
Hello.
Please tell us what BMI is and how it is calculated.
BMI is body mass index, and it is nothing more than a ratio of your weight with your height in meters squared. So if your weight is 60 kg and your height is 1.2 meters, then 60 upon 1.2 meters squared is your body mass index. Now, body mass index is used as a metric to tell people whether their body weight is in the healthy category or in the overweight, obese, or underweight category. That is how it's popular, and which is why it's also used invariably in all of the health camps or any random clinic visit or anything, and people are always talking about body mass index. And it is one metric which I hate the most.
Why so?
Because, see, body mass index is other than telling you that possibly your weight is a little more or is a little less as compared to your height. Beyond that, it's not really telling you anything. Okay, so let me explain this with an example. That if I was to compare someone whose weight is 80 kg, now this person 80 kg and at the height of say 5 feet 3 inches, okay, that's 1.6 meters approximately.
Right.
So if I was going to compare this 80 kg person, this frame, this 80 kg in 1.6 meters, could be someone who is actually overweight because of excessive body fat, right? But it could also be someone who is a bodybuilder, who has loads of muscle, who is able to deadlift 200 kg, 250 kg. It could be that person as well.
Right.
Because we know that muscle weighs heavier than fat. Okay, and muscle is going to take up less space in your body as compared to fat. So on the weighing scale, the body mass index, it's not able to see what space or volume that you are at, what size you are at, okay, and it's also not able to see that you are what weight you are at, could be the 80 kg because of a higher muscle mass. Now, if I was to check the body mass index of the 80 kg bodybuilder versus someone who is not so healthy or is overweight and hence is at 80 kg, the BMI for both will show me to be overweight.
Right. So there's no point of difference between.
We cannot differentiate between the two, right? So if I was to go by only the BMI metric, then I'm going to classify someone who actually is very healthy and strong and has loads of muscle mass also as overweight,
Right.
which is stupid.
So if BMI is not telling us the entire picture, why is it so popular in today's time?
BMI's origin story is very interesting. It actually was calculated, or they studied just a small set of Caucasian population, which is the European white population, in one small village. Okay, so only about some hundred people, like a couple of hundred people, were studied for this, and based on that, they plotted a chart, like a standard deviation chart, and they figured that people who fell within this certain range were generally healthy, and those whose weight was more as compared to their height were, say, not so healthy, or were overweight, and the underweight criteria was say given out. Now when you are basing a global standard for health calculations on such a metric, which is actually based on just an average of one set of population, it fails to identify the variations within races, within ethnicities, right? So, for example, we know that the Indian community, Indian population, generally has more fat percentage than the Caucasian counterparts. We also know that the African population is more muscular than the Indian or the Caucasian counterparts, right? Now, body mass index keeps everyone on the same ground and same level. Hence, it, to my mind and to my professional use as well, it is useless. It has severe limitations. The funniest part of body mass index is that it fails to, say, identify or to understand the differences between genders. Now, a woman's body is very different from a man's body. Even if we were to say only within a certain ethnicity, within that as well, we know that the female body is different than the male body. But BMI is not telling you that, there's like a big difference between, say, BMI for men versus BMI for women. We don't see a very marked difference in what the BMI is telling you as healthy or unhealthy.
Right.
Which is why it fails. It's not really useful, which is also why I always tell people that stop checking your BMI. You don't need to be checking your body mass index, just the way you don't need to obsess over your weight on the weighing scale. Both are not very accurate measures of measuring your health.
Okay. So is BMI useful at all? Like in that case, like can you think of any of its use?
BMI is not useful.
Not useful.
To be very honest, it isn't. At best, if you were to, say, walk into some clinic, you checked your weight and they're telling you your BMI, then it becomes, say, one point where you can consider or think about that, okay, they are telling me that my BMI is about 25. So it looks like my body weight at this point of time is more than what they are recommending. But then that should be the starting point from where you investigate and try to find out that higher weight, is it because of muscle mass or because of fat mass?
So it can be used as a screening tool, but not as a health indicator per se.
Yeah, it can be used as a very preliminary, very basic tool, but it truly, like, if I say that I am now aiming to drop my BMI below 25 or below 24, it's not going to be an indicator of my health at all, because I could actually be having an eating disorder and be throwing up whatever I'm eating. My BMI is still going to be normal. Okay.
Right.
So that is not something that I would recommend as, say, a goal at all for anyone. But what you do need to be looking at is that if you find that your BMI is higher or lower, then there is something that could be wrong out there, and that is how you go ahead.
So what can be some of the risks with, say, a lower BMI or a higher BMI?
So again, a lower BMI by standard understanding is going to be an indicator of a person being underweight. Okay. Now, generally, that is going to indicate that you have a lower muscle mass. But we know that someone could even have a higher muscle mass and hence, say, be healthier, while the fat percentage could be lower and hence their body weight is lower. So, to be very honest, being underweight or normal, or say being overweight on your body mass index means nothing. In our clinic, we see this all the time, where people walk in with supposedly healthy BMI and they come to us saying that Amita, my BMI is also normal, and still my cholesterol is off the charts. My triglyceride levels are just not, stopping the upward climb. My blood sugars are not okay. So that's the other big limitation of body mass index, that if I say that my BMI is in the healthy range, that truly doesn't mean that I'm healthy.
You can still be at a risk for a heart disease or death.
Absolutely, 100%. Because nowhere is it telling you anything about your lifestyle disorders or your risk factors for, you living longer and you living a healthy life. It just doesn't factor those things in.
Yeah. So now if I want to say, check like if my BMI is in normal range, but it's truly not indicating anything. So what should I look instead then for?
Great question. What you should be looking for is you check whether your body composition is okay or not. So now we have a lot of those easily available weighing scales as well, and otherwise you can go get a DEXA scan done. So either way, it will tell you whether your fat percentage, total body fat percentage, visceral fat, subcutaneous fat, is up to the mark or not, or if it is too much, then it's going to also tell you those metrics, as in how much you need to maybe work on reducing your fat percentage, and it's also going to tell you your muscle mass. Along with that, it's always very important to also be checking things like, say, whether I'm able to quickly bend down and pick up a key or not. If someone tells me to climb 10,000, walk 10,000 steps, or if someone tells me to climb 10 floors, am I dying almost, when I have to climb 10 flight of stairs? So these are also the other metrics. Or am I a person who is on holidays completely avoiding walking of any kind because it just gets me out of breath?
Yeah.
To me, and to me even professionally as a nutritionist, that is more important than you looking at your weight or you looking at your body mass index.
So say if a person is actively going to the gym and is, has built a good muscle mass. So if they fall into, say, the overweight category, they should not be worried.
At all. So what they should be doing is they should be checking their body composition analysis, check the BCA, so that way you know where the metrics lie in terms of your fat percentage, muscle percentage, and your visceral fat and everything, and that is sufficient. As a precaution, if you're above 30, then I would recommend that you also get your blood test done. So occasionally get your annual medical checkup done, so you can make sure that, because you could be, again, that is the other, say, limitation of even the body composition analysis, that I could be at a healthy, say, fat range, and I could be at, say, a reasonably healthy muscle mass, but I could still maybe have some high insulin resistance, or HbA1c could be high, or I could even have some abnormal triglycerides is also possible. So we need to be able to see the entire picture and not just look at one aspect of it.
So the BMI that is checked in the gym, is that false or any trueness to it?
So it's a misnomer actually. When in most good gyms, when they say that they want to check your BMI, okay, or what they call BMI, they usually are doing a scan on a machine called body composition analysis. That is okay, all right, that you can do. That's not just your weight on height meters squared, okay. But when you are using all of these online calculators, right, or you're using, say, a general, say, online quiz to see whether your weight is okay or you need to drop some pounds or some kgs, those are the ones where they are using just the body mass index as a calculator, and that is flawed.
Even in schools, I think when the health checkups are done, one of the metric that you're introduced first time is the BMI.
Yes.
And then you compare it amongst yourself. And
Yeah.
that adds on to maybe some body image issues with it.
Yeah.
So what can the schools do instead of BMI?
Okay, so what schools should be checking and making people aware of is the waist to height ratio. Okay, or check the waist circumference of the kids. And of course, we know that if a child is overweight, then the child is unlikely to be involved in any physical activity or any, like, exercise activities as well. So encourage that instead of, giving a label of a higher BMI or a lower BMI.
So, if there's one key takeaway from this episode on BMI, about say BMI and health, what it would be?
Body mass index is not telling you the full story. Body mass index does not always mean, or you having a higher body mass index does not always mean that you are unhealthy. There is way more to your health than just your weight and your height. So make sure that you are looking at all the parameters and not just one called stupid BMI.
So that were our thoughts on BMI. If you have any more questions, please drop them down in the comments below.
And of course, we want you to subscribe to this channel and share this with all of your BMI obsessed friends. Let us know in the comments what other topics you would like us to bring more videos on, and we will make sure that we are covering all of them. See you guys.